Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome to Crafting with Curly Cues. Today I have a close to my heart edition for you where I'm going to do some fun watercolor resist background techniques. So to start with, I am going to take just a piece of cold pressed watercolor cardstock and this really cute Diamonds Are Forever stamp set from Close to My Heart. And you can see in that stamp set there's all kinds of really awesome gem images that are big, solid, just fun images that you can use on your cards, and I want to use just about all of those bad boys. So I got a few different acrylic blocks out, and I am just making the most out of these acrylic blocks and putting one of those gem stamps on either side so that I can go back and forth as I create this collage and have access to as many images at once as I possibly can. So now that I've got a bunch of those different gems on my acrylic blocks, I'm going to prep my card stock here with my powder tool because I am going to be doing some heat embossing in some white so that those pretty gems pop against a really colorful, fun background. So I am using my Versamark ink and then my Ranger Superfine White embossing powder to go ahead and stamp all of these images. So I'm starting with that biggest diamond, and I'm just going to put that right there on my cardstock, and that's going to kind of be the center of my image here. So now I'm going to go ahead and put some powder on that, and I'm doing this as I go so that I can see where those images are at, because otherwise it just gets completely lost on this paper. So even though you can't see the white powder super well, you can definitely see it better than no powder at all. So now I'm just going to take these additional gem images and I'm just going to kind of fill in using that big diamond as my center point. And I'm kind of going for like a wide band across the bottom third of this piece of cardstock. And I've cut this piece of cardstock to start slightly larger than the front of an A2 card. And I am going to trim it down when I'm all done. So I just wanted to have extra, and that way I could make it whatever size I wanted when I'm through. So now you can see I've got all those images on there and they're kind of in that stripe across the bottom. And now I'm going to go ahead and heat set that. I decided I wanted to use this little twinkle stamp that comes in the stamp set that's like, gives your little gems a little bling there. So I wanted to kind of put that in between the gems and just allow them to sparkle extra. So I stamped that in and amongst the gems, and I also stamped a sentiment up there, but you'll see later that I actually changed my mind on the sentiment. So definitely know that that is an option when you're creating a card. You can always change your mind if you don't like how it was going. So now I'm going to dive into the watercolor, and I like to use a nice inexpensive clipboard as a support board when I do watercolor, and I'm just going to use some post-it tape to tape this piece down. Again, I know I'm going to kind of trim it, so I'm not being too careful about how I'm taping it, but if this was my main piece already down to size, I would be a lot more careful about where I'm taping, because obviously your paint can't go where the tape is. But this is just going to keep my paper from warping really badly because it's taped to that clipboard. So that was my Close to My Heart watercolor set. So you can see there are 36 beautiful colors in there. I love this set because of the variety of colors and the vibrancy of the pigment. And then I'm going to use my water brush. And I filled my water brush with water and a little bit of Perfect Pearls powder. So Perfect Pearls are just a nice shimmery iridescent powder, and it's going to give my watercolor paint just a little bit of shimmer. So to start, I'm taking a big flat brush and I'm just putting some plain clear water over the top of everywhere that I want to watercolor. And then I'm using my water brush and I'm picking up pigment out of the watercolors and I'm just coming in and dropping it in on top here. So you can see when I squeeze, I'm putting more water on the surface because these watercolor paints are super thick. They're probably one of the thicker watercolor mediums that I've ever used. So I find that they're super pigmented, which is awesome because you get this really nice, vibrant color. But the downside of that is that if you want it to look more watercolory and not quite so thick, you have to apply a lot more water. So I'm just really squeezing out that pigmented or that Perfect Pearls water. And you can see here I'm using a dry paper towel to kind of get the color out of the end of my water brush before I go into my next color so I don't totally contaminate it. So I'm just kind of creating a pretty little rainbow here at the bottom of my card, and I'm using a few different colors of those watercolor paints. And you can see that I'm just going right over the top of all that stamped embossing that we did earlier. So I'll show you later when I'm getting to be through how I take care of getting those pretty gems to pop back out of that color again. But first I just got to get my base coat of color down. So while I have a minute while I'm painting, I just wanted to kind of share with you guys. It's been a little bit since I've had a video up, and I know that for all of us, January is typically a pretty busy time, beginning of a new year, all kinds of new stuff going on, getting ourselves situated. Well, in my house, it's been a particularly busy time because my husband is the drama teacher at one of the local high schools, and he opened his musical this last weekend. So we've been this last week or so really busy getting ready for that. I typically help him decorate sets, and then I run his box office for him. And then my little one was also in the show. So we had all kinds of exciting stuff going on with that, and then that runs again this weekend. So it's kind of cut into my crafty time a little bit. But hopefully here, especially once that second weekend gets done, I'll have a lot more time to be on the YouTubes and getting lots more videos up for you guys. I'm hoping to get for 2016 a little bit more of a structure in my YouTube channel as far as having 2 to 3 videos a week. I'm going to have my Friday Tupelo Designs LLC video, and then at least one additional video is what I'm aiming for every week. And then I think I'm going to also start doing additional projects that I just blog about. It does take a lot of time to do a video on every project, and I do work full time, so I want to get more projects flowing. So I'm going to maybe do some additional ones that just get blog posts. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'm still going to do the organizational videos for you guys. That is coming as well. Back to the project really quick. You can see that on the embossed areas, I first wiped them off with a dry paper towel just to pick up any of that watercolor that was sitting right on top. And then I came in with a baby wipe, and I just very carefully wiped over the top of those embossed images. You want to be careful because the baby wipe is going to move around the watercolor if it touches the paint. So just kind of be aware of that, but it works great to get that extra paint off the top of those white images. So now I'm using that big flat brush again, and I just put a little bit more water on the project. And now I'm just using the corner of that brush to come in with a little bit more color. I just kind of want that layered watercolor look, like that super flowy, kind of paint on top of paint. I like the lines that it gives you. So I'm just kind of going back in and placing some pigment where I want a little bit more color so that this is nice and fun and vibrant. The point of this card is it's just like all about being sparkly and vibrant and fun. So that's what I wanted here. So the other exciting thing that's happening is today actually is the 6-month anniversary of my very first YouTube video. So 6 months ago, I bit the bullet and put my very first video up on YouTube, and you guys have been exceptionally amazing and supportive, and I cannot even believe that I am sitting at over 2,000 subscribers 6 months later. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that that was how this YouTube channel experiment was going to go for me. So I am definitely going to be putting together a giveaway here soon because I want to say thank you to all of you who've been supporting me from the beginning and encouraging this crazy little hobby of mine. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be coming as well. So that's all I have for updates. So I'll stop yabbering about me and I'll go back to the project here. But you can see I added that additional pigment. I think it's super pretty with the additional pigment. And then I used my baby wipe to get some of that extra off the top so I had bright shiny gems poking through. And then I did go ahead and trim that panel down to be slightly smaller than the front of an A2 card. And I'm using some craft foam to create the pop-up for the back here. And then I created a side folding A2 card base out of some black cardstock. I really just want to kind of provide some contrast to all the bright color and the white that I have going on. And I am extra adhesiving this up. I'm making it super sticky because it is watercolored, so I don't want it to warp. I want to make sure that it stays nice and flat on the front of my project. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stick this to the front of my card base. So my original card concept was that this would pretty much be it. Just kind of a nice, clean and simple, vibrant card. But then I was like, well, I'm talking about the bling, so I better put some bling on here as I'm preaching sparkle on this card here. So I busted out my Bitty Sparkles from Close to My Heart. These are probably the eensy-weensiest little sparkle gems I have ever used in my life, but they're super fun to add just that little teeny tiny bit of bling to a card. So I just kind of scattered a bunch of those all over the place. And then I decided that I didn't like the way that that sentiment was looking on the front. It didn't pop out and contrast with the color nearly as much as I wanted it to. And I also wanted to tie the black of the card base in with the rest of the card. So actually, over a week later, after I made this card, I came back and I took a piece of black cardstock and I went ahead and heat embossed that same sentiment in some white embossing powder. And I am going to go ahead then and trim that up with my paper trimmer after I heat set that, and then put some little ribbon edges on the end by cutting up the middle and then going from each side to the end of that cut, so you get those perfect little ribbon banners. And I love the way that the white sentiment just really pops on that black piece, and I really like how this ties the black border of the card into the rest of the card. It makes the sentiment far more prominent, and that's way more of the look I was going for. So I'm really glad that I came back in over a week later and decided to change this card before I made this video. So just keep that in mind, that you can alter a card whenever you want, when inspiration strikes. If it's not feeling right, just let it simmer for a while and then come back to it, and something might have inspired you. So there is a nice close-up of this card. You can see the shimmer that those bitty blings add to it there, those little bitty sparkles. And if you like this card, go ahead and hit subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm going to list all the supplies over at my blog. I've listed links in the description below to more videos, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. Thanks, guys. Bye.